Hello and welcome everybody to our DevToberfest session, updates on embedded analytics in ABAP Cloud. My name is Andreas Riehl. I'm the tech lead for the team that is doing analytics, embedded analytics in ABAP Cloud. So we're doing the generators and tools. And with me today is Timo Schaaf, one of our developers who has developed the review booklet application generator. And he will do a demo for you today. And also with us is Lina Raut from the analytics development team. And she will do the question and answers in the chat in the background. And at the end, we will also have a Q&A together if there are any interesting questions from you in the audience as well. Okay. Hi, Timo. Nice that you are with us.
Yeah, thanks. Hello, and also a warm welcome from my side. I'm Timo. I'm an ABAP developer, and yeah, looking forward to the session today. And over to you, Andreas.
Okay, thanks, Timo. Then I would say let's get started. Let's first of all clarify what we are doing today, what you can expect from the session. We will have a quick recap of the development artifacts that are in the CDS-based analytics, embedded analytics world, so that we know what we are talking about today. Then we will have the demo with Timo to create a full-fledged Fiori review booklet application in the ABAP development tools. Afterwards, we will have a look at our analytics modeling examples, which is a GitHub repository that we have for you, where you can find our, so to say, reference scenarios. We'll see how that works later on. Then we will have a short outlook on what will happen next and what is there already in the ABAP Cloud world in terms of analytics. And at the end, we will have probably plenty of time for questions and answers. Okay, then let's get started with the development artifacts. So I will walk you through like a developer would start developing with ABAP Cloud in analytics. So first of all, we will have to create an analytical data model. So the analytical data model, the analytical data model, it might be there already, but you can also create one. The model is consisting of cube, dimensions, text views, hierarchy views, and so on, and is built in ABAP CDS. This is really where the developer probably spends most of his time. So it's can be quite complex. And if you are building a cube, for example, on a business objects and model dimensions and text views and hierarchies, all that can take quite some time. But the reuse is also quite high. So usually you build such a star schema or snowflake schema for one specific fact, and then you can reuse it to build multiple queries on top. And the queries are less complex. So the queries are projections on the cube view, and they add, for example, additional calculations, and they add details on how the query will look at the end at the UI. So this is already quite UI close, because you can specify for the dimensions and also for the measures on which axis they appear, and if they are available initially and so on. So this is also quite some work. but definitely not that complex like the star scheme. Okay. Having built a query or multiple queries, so like I said, the query answers specific questions. So, for example, for speaking with the flight model, what is the occupation of specific flights? That could be one question that you will answer with a query. Okay, and then you will expose the queries as a service. You can have multiple queries in one service, depending on what app you will build in the end. If you want to, for example, build a multi-dimensional analysis app, then you will have a service that contains only one query. But if we are looking at the review booklets today, you can also have a service that contains multiple queries. And that makes definitely perfectly sense. The service exposure itself is quite canonical. And yeah, typically you don't have any reuse with it. So you build one service typically for the reuse with one application. You can not only have Fiori applications, but we are focusing in Fiori applications today. Other usages would be, for example, to use a service in SAP Analytics Cloud as well, or in analysis for Office. So it can be externally and internally. If we are talking now here about embedded analytics, we mean system internal usage, and that is typically the Fiori applications. Okay. The complexity of an application varies. So if you build a Fiori application in Business Application Studio, then of course the complexity can be quite high, and it can be quite time consuming to build such a Fiori application. What we are talking about today is Fiori apps that are based on so-called player apps. So the multidimensional analysis is a player app that can display one query, and the review booklet can multiple queries. The player is provided by SAP, and we will build own variants as a developer of that player application. Okay. Yeah, that's basically it. After we have built our application, in our case, we do that generators for the two applications that we have here. You will expose the service as well as the application in an IAM app, and that can be made available via business catalog then to the end user. Well, having said that, I would say it's time that we have a look in the system, and Timo can show us how this happens in real life in ADT. Over to you, Timo.
Yeah, thanks, Andreas, for the great overview and also for the great introduction. So as you already mentioned, yeah, I want to show you or give you a demo about the review booklet generator. And so, yeah, right now what we want to build together is we want to build a full-fledged Fiori application, which is built completely in ADT. And yeah, with that, you can display multiple queries. And so the big advantage is there's no front-end tool needed. So all the artifacts that will be generated completely within the ADT. And yeah, so I would say let's jump right into it, jump right into the ADT. So as Andreas already mentioned, we need two queries at least. So the first query is an SAP query, and it calculates the capacity of the seats in a plane. We have here as the dimensions, we have the departure airport ID, we have the flight date, the maximum seats, the occupied seats. And we have here, of course, a calculation for the utilization. So that's our first query. And then we have a second query. And yeah, so this second query, we build it by ourselves. So that's also possible that you can use an SAP query and a self-made or query that you have built by yourself. And yes, we have here, we are using the airline ID, the currency code, the distance unit. And here we have a calculation from a currency into euro. Yes, so now we need to expose these two queries in a service definition. I created this upfront. You can see here our service definition with the two queries that we are exposing. And on top of that, we need to build a service binding from binding to INA. And so now the important question, how do I start the review booklet generator? Well, that's pretty simple. You go to the review booklet and do a right click. And then you can see here, generate ABAP repository objects. So by just simply clicking on that, yeah, you can see like the home page from the Hello ABAP Cloud generators. And yeah.
Timo, one short question in between. You were talking about the ABAP Cloud, Hello ABAP Cloud generators. I know them, and typically there are much more generators on that screen. How come that we can only see two now?
Yeah, very good question. Yes, so right now we are only seeing the generators that are available or that you can start from a service binding. But of course, there are also other generators available, like the MDA generator, for example. But these you need to start, you can start them, or you need to start them either from a queue or a query.
Oh, that means you can also now start the MDA generator on a query.
Exactly. So we extended that. So there before it was only possible to start the MDA generator from a queue, but now it's possible to start it also from a query.
Okay, that's great. And I think we delivered this with 2508 as well, right?
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so here underneath, under analytics, you find the review booklet generator app. So on the right side, short description, the function, what it does. And we see here also the four artifacts that will be generated. So first we have the review booklet configuration, the app descriptor item, we have the SAP UI5 component and the IAM app. And at the bottom, you can see here the reference object. In this case, our service binding where I started or where I generated the review booklet. Okay, so then we click on next. And we need to define a package. And up front, I created a package where all the artifacts will be generated. So let's just use this one. Click on next. And then here we come to the configuration. And this is like, let's say the heart of the review booklet generator, where we can define and have an overview of all the artifacts and the name. So we have here the review booklet configuration. We have the app descriptor item, and of course the SAP UI5 component ID, which has to start with customer dot. And by the way, Andreas, why does it have to start with customer dot?
Yeah, good question, Timo. So the UI5 component, like I said, we have an application that is based on a player application. And the application that we are building here as a customer will be stored in the so-called layered repository on top. The application that we are building now will later on be stored really in the customer layer to make sure that it's decoupled from the player application itself. So therefore we store it here in the customer layer, and it has to start with customer dot.
Very interesting about the UI5 component. So then we can go to our next one, to the title. So the title, it's like the name, the name of our app. So let's just change it to Oktoberfest demo. And then we have the semantic object and the semantic action. And these are unique identifier for our app. Let's say flights. And we have here an icon right now. So the default icon is the line chart, but we have two queries from the category flight. So let's use paper plane, or let's use the plane as an icon.
Timo, how do you know? Do you know by heart here what you want to enter as icon examples, or how come?
Yeah, it would be great if I knew it by heart, but to be honest, there's a repository, or there are a lot of objects from SAP where they created. So you can just type in your browser, Google it, the SAP UI5 Icon Explorer, and there are all the icons that were created from SAP, which you can use officially.
Great. We have the link for that in the show notes. And Timo, maybe to ourselves, maybe we should offer in one of the next releases a drop down for that. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that would be would be a nice add-on. Okay, so now we have the icon. The next and last step or artifact is the IAM app, and the name of this one, I take it into the clipboard because we need that for later on. So then to the next step. You see here all the artifacts and by name that will be created. And then we click on next, and here we can add a transport request. But of course, I created a local repository, and so for that I don't need a transport, so we can skip that one. So we click finish, and now I get a notification that our review booklet generator app generated the artifact successfully. Do you want to open the object? Yes, of course, we want that. And so yes, here now you can see the review booklet configuration. But before, we need to add our IAM app to the business catalog. And we can do that by simply clicking on the business catalog and add a second one. So I added one, but we can add a second one. And let's add this one, click finish. And then we need to publish the business catalog again locally. Okay, so now back to the configuration. Here you have the fact that the generator generated, so it's the configuration. And of course we can design it a little bit more. So by here we have this icon, the open configuration. By clicking on that, a new tab in my browser will open, and we see the review booklets designer. And I don't want to go too much into detail. We see here some booklet information. But what we really need to do now is we need our queries from the ADT. We need to add them to the review booklet designer. And we can do that by click on generate content. And you see our two queries from the ADT, they are still unused. And by clicking on generate, we are using them. And now here in this tab, analytical queries, our two queries are added. now we can go to the next tab, the business pages. And here, so for each query, a separate page will edit that I can personalize, or that I can display a query. And let's say, so right now for each query, we see a table, but let's say for the capacity, I wanna have a table and a chart. So I can select, or I can change the layout. One moment, I can change the layout by saying table with simple chart. Yes, we want to change the layout. And I can say, okay, the content, we want to do it, we want to have it horizontally. And then I can choose the data provider. We want to have the airport capacity. And we want to have the chart. We want to have a column chart. And then I need to, so there are generated data for the column and the rows, and I need to select them. So right now there's only one generated column and one generated row available, but of course it could be, or if multiple are available, you can choose multiple or the one that you need. But right now we need this one, so we select this one for the column and also for the row.
Timo, you selected now. You had to select that row set and also the data source again. Do you need to do that now for the other query, for the other page as well, or?
No, I don't need to change it for, or edit for the other queries. So because I changed the layout, I need to say, okay, what data do you wanna have for the column and the row, and for that I need to select it.
So if you wouldn't have changed the layout, it would have worked out of the box.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
Exactly. Okay, so everything is designed right now. We can do a check to see that everything works. Okay, our booklet is checked and is consistent. We can save it. Okay, so now after our booklet is designed, we can switch to our review booklet home app. And yet, so one additional information, the name or the title or the description of my business catalog is business catalog dev talk or flight. And if I click on my profile and go into the app finder, I need to do a refresh. And here you can see the business catalog that I've shown you, and also with the name DevOktoberfest Demo. So click on this one and go. And here you can see then our layout that we have created. So on the left side, the table with the departure airport and the flight date and all the other measures. And on the right side, you see our column chart, and all the data from our query is included in this chart. But if I have a look at this chart, I see, okay, we have the maximum capacity, we have the occupied seats, the free capacity, but somehow the utilization doesn't fit in here. So I can say, okay, let's change the layout here. We click on layout and we remove the utilization. And now it looks much better, at least to me. Yes. And so another benefit here is I can click here at standard and say, okay, I want to save this view. And by clicking on save as, I give this view or this specific view a name. Let's say table and chart. And I can set this view as a default. So whenever I enter this app, I see this screen. So this saves me a lot of time. And of course, I can publish it. And that means I can share it with customers or other colleagues, and we can work together. Our generated page for the capacity. But of course, we have another generated page for the flight price. Because I haven't changed the layout, there's only the table is visible. Andreas, I'm always wondering, and I'm very interested, how does the calculation behind this currency or this query works?
Okay, good question, Timo. I think that's it for the demo of the review booklet generator app. So the booklet has been generated. Now is the question, how exactly does that work? So enable, and that you may or may not know how to implement that. And to overcome that, we have introduced here this GitHub repository. This GitHub repository, ABAP Platform Analytics Data Modeling. The name's a little bit long. The idea of that GitHub repository is that it accompanies the documentation, and it's kind of a speedboat to show you features that we have in the analytical CDS modeling, especially in the queries right now. The GitHub repository contains like a complete data model. The data model is built on the famous flight model. You probably know that from the very old SAP times, but also who have a new RAP colleagues. And what we're doing is we're setting up directly on this RAP GitHub, and we are adding analytical features here. So our repository contains, like I said, the star schema and queries, hierarchies, text views, dimensions, you name it. And a lot of queries with different features. And the idea is now that you can clone this GitHub repository into your system, can generate data, and then work with it locally. Everything is explained here, how you clone it, and what you have to do to get data that is, of course, then identical to the RAP counterpart of it. Additionally, you may have to configure the currency conversion rates. We'll see that in a second, but that's it. Once you've done that, you're ready to go. And we have, additionally to that GitHub repository in parallel, a wiki where the different features of Analytics CDS are explained. Now, Timo's question was, how can we define a currency conversion, right? And a currency conversion is a calculated key figure. So we have that navigation here on the right-hand side. Open it, you see different features, and we have the currency conversion here. Okay, now we have a short explanation how the currency conversion works. We also have some additional information for the currency conversion. It's obviously important that we have conversion rates. So here's a link to how to work with conversion rates. We have other features that have also specific blog posts here. So for example, this filter feature is explained in a blog post by Lina here as well. This is linked. And what you can do now, going back to the currency conversion, you can check how the query is defined. First of all, this brings us here to GitHub again, and you can see that the query in our example here is containing two measures. First of all is the measure, the sales amount without a currency conversion, and we restricted it to August 2024. You can see we have that case statement here and a where condition on the year down below. So this column will display our sales amount in August in the original currency. And then we have the currency conversion, see how that works. We can see that we have as a conversion date, a fixed date here, and of August the 8th, 2024. And what you would do now to see that really in action is that you will go to your own system where you find the query because you've cloned it and you've generated data for it. I'll do that now. Oh, sorry, wrong direction. There I open it in my system. See, it's exactly the same query. And we will right-click it and say, open with data preview. And this will bring up the beautiful multi-dimensional analysis preview of our query. And we can see how the currency conversion is working. We have here the first column, the same August in the original currency, and we have the last column here in the converted euro currency. Okay, so that's it about the GitHub repository. What I didn't mention yet, the GitHub repository is not only used in the documentation, it is also used in our wonderful learning journey that we introduced at the beginning of this year, I guess, that shows you how to build analytical queries. We also linked that learning journey for free in the show notes. And yeah, it would be great if you're interested in how to build queries in more detail and also learn quite a lot of these features that are explained here in the GitHub repository. Feel free to check out this learning journey. Yeah, okay, that's it about the GitHub repository. I hope you use it and check it out. Then I would say we can go back to the presentation and see, and see what we have up next. Okay, so the generators that we have been talking about today are generators that build Fiori applications with a player, and they are really quite useful. They save a lot of time by building complete apps. But we've also seen that building query can be quite some work, and building the underlying star schema is even more work. And now we will bring in the next releases some artificial intelligence into the game to to also be able to generate like an analytical query. So in our MDA generator that creates the query, if you start on a queue, we are planning to introduce an option to have a prompt where you can specify how the query should look like, and then we will have a much more sophisticated suggestion for you than we have it today. Apart from that, we're also working on star schema generator that can create a model a star schema based, for example, on an existing business object. That is regarding the GenAI support. What about the other generators that we have or that are planned?
Yes, good question. So I've shown you the review booklet generator. Based on a service binding, you can display and personalize multiple queries. And besides that, we also talked about the multidimensional analysis app. So where you display and personalize a single query, and you can start the MDA generator either based on a cube or a query. And then we have another generator, that's the hierarchy generator. And you start this one on a dimension, and you generate all the other relevant artifacts which are needed for a hierarchy. So this would be a hierarchy directory and a hierarchy node. And yeah, all the artifacts are generated within the ADT. And there you can model a hierarchy. For example, let's use the example plane. You can model the airports depending on continents, countries, and cities. So yeah, that would be a use case. So Andreas, how about the language modernization?
Okay, apart from all the generators, we also updated the features in the language itself. For example, we added support for derivation functions and the current member function. This will also come with a 2508, I guess. And therefore, I recommend a great session from our colleagues Santiago and Bojan that I think is also today regarding the ABAP CDS features update. And they will explain especially also how that derivation functions and the current member functions work in detail. So make sure to check that as well. This is one of the language features we delivered. Planned up next is that we will support also table entity in the analytical engine, which is currently not possible. So this is planned to come in a future release, hopefully 2602, maybe later, we'll see. Okay, that's it regarding our update. Then I think if there are any questions that are in the chat, maybe we can have an update from Lina, what is happening in the chat.
No, I couldn't find any questions, open questions. Now it is a chance. If anybody has a question, we are ready to answer it.
Okay, then I would say we can, you can still type questions now, and I would, in the meantime, jump to our links and just give you a brief update on what we have there, and then we can go back, and if there are still questions, we can have the questions then. So the links, of course, we have the GitHub repository that I mentioned here in the links. Feel free to check that out. We have the updated analytics developer guide, which is the official help on ABAP analytics, embedded analytics in ABAP Cloud. We have the link to the Devtoberfest session from the colleagues that I mentioned, from Bojan and Santiago. Pretty sure this is also very interesting. So I will have a look at it, at least at the recording then later on as well. Then we have that great learning. It's really worth a look. I think it's, Timo, you made it. How long does it take if you do it?
It's depending on it. Good question. I think it was written about something about 4 hours,
Yeah.
But of course you can do it a little bit faster, or if you need more time, then so yeah, it's depending on you, but I think around about 4 hours.
Yeah. And there you will learn quite some features that are also in our GitHub. And as promised, we have the link to the icon explorer.
Very important.
Yeah. Okay, Lina, are there any more updates now in the chat? Do we have questions?
Still not.
Okay, then thanks a lot, Lina, for taking care of the question. Thanks everybody for listening. And I think we can then close the call for today. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.